Welcome back, everybody. Our next speaker is Ashok Verma. And Ashok began his photographic career in 1995 with no formal training, no mentor, and no business acumen. But faith, strong dreams, and determination motivated him to secure a place in the industry. From advertising and fashion photography, he turned to photojournalism in 2007, and that in turn introduced him to street photography. And he set himself a goal to produce a different image every day. Ashok now works as a senior photojournalist for a leading Arabic daily newspaper under Dubai Media Inc. Please welcome Ashok Verma.
Ashok Verma, this is me. And you've heard a little bit about me, and welcome to this talk. And the talk is all about child's play and street photography. Yeah. Before I start this talk, there is a disclaimer. The disclaimer is very important for this talk because English is not my mother tongue, nor my father's tongue, and I may stumble, I may rumble, I may fumble in between, so kindly ignore that. I may go grammatically wrong in between, bear with me, and I might switch over to some other language. So please bear with me. So what is the perception about street photography? It's a child's play. Everybody thinks that street photography is nothing but child's play. When you're doing photojournalism, you know that you have to capture pictures related to journalism. When you're doing fashion photography, you know you're covering fashion photography. When you're doing architecture, you know you're doing architecture photography. Same way, if you're doing street photography, it simply means that you have to shoot pictures on street. And that is the common perception. And that's where the whole thing starts, that people think that doing street photography is just child's play because you just go out on street and do some pictures and that's it. And that's why you get pictures like this, because you see street in this. And this is street photography. Then you do more. You see pictures like this. There is street, there are people, and this is street photography. This is the common perception. I'll show you more pictures. Street photography, more of street photography, isn't it? This is the common perception. Street photography, more street photography. Simple, easy. More street photography and more street photography. You have to do nothing as a photographer. You just go out, carry your camera, and click pictures like these, and you are a street photographer. You do pictures like these, you become a street photographer. Simple, easy, more. You are seeing a street, and this is street photography. That is the common perception. But what is the conclusion? The conclusion comes to the point where people think that street photography teaches you nothing. It leads you nowhere. You gain nothing as a photographer, and you are just wasting your time. You can't make a profession out of street photography. You can't produce strong images. You can't convey stories while doing street photography. But there was a guy who started doing street photography with the same mindset, same thinking around 10 years back. He also thought he'll go out on street, carry a camera, do some pictures, easy, and he'll be able to produce pictures. But he is doing street photography till now. And this guy, let's not talk about his name, and let me show you some of his work, and maybe then we can continue forward that what is street photography, whether it's child's play or is it not a child's play. Let's see if the video plays and you see the work of this guy. Where is the video? Here is the video. This is not street photography. There is no street visible. Most of the pictures. This is street photography. I don't consider these as street pictures, right? So what is street photography? And who's this guy who's doing all these pictures and who's saying that this is street photography? This is the guy who's doing these sort of pictures, which looks like maybe photojournalism, which looks like as if they are controlled pictures, which looks like as if you're doing a documentary photography. There are stories in it. You can connect to the pictures. So what is street photography? Let's see what is street photography and try to understand what actually street photography means. It's not just shooting on street. Normally, the perception is you go out on street and shoot pictures. Street pictures can be shot anywhere. They can be shot indoors, they can be shot outdoors, they can be shot in malls, they can be shot on street also. The only thing you have to follow when you're doing street photography, you need to show the environment and make your viewers connect to that. It is the art of capturing around you, wherever you are, and create that punch, that drama, which makes your viewers stop. Street photography is all about that. See these pictures? These pictures are just shot in a parking lot. It is to capture the picture where you see candid expressions. You go close to your subject. You capture the expressions. It's just not street. There are people in it, and you capture their emotions, which are candid. You freeze them for a second, for a millisecond. See these examples? It is just candid pictures. It is to show the environment you are shooting in. It is not like you just going close and maybe you can shoot in a studio, but that is not street picture. A street picture is where you are showing the environment, where the thing is happening, where that story is being built. That is street photography. Street photography is your approach, how you approach your subject. Like this picture, I mean, it can be shot from an eye level, but my approach is to shoot from a top level. So it is your approach, how you approach your subject and create strong visuals which have stories in them, which makes people connect to it. Maybe there are no people in it. I see a cloud and I create a story and I approach it in a different way. Street photography is all about your approach to your subjects. Street photography is art of coordinating between different elements which you are framing in your viewfinder. Different elements are there. As a photographer, it is you who are going to decide how to place different elements and how to weave them together so they create an impactful picture, a picture which has a story, which have some emotions in them. Let's move on to the next one. See how you're relating, how you're controlling the various elements. There are two females, there are two things on the backside. You are relating those things. And maybe you've seen these things, but you just ignore them. But the moment you start correlating these elements, you create stories and you create strong street pictures. It is to generate emotions. If your picture can generate emotions, by whatever elements they are, which are beyond your control, which are candid, you are doing street photography. This is generating emotions. You are connecting your viewers to yourself by either eye contact or by relating these eyes to some God behind. Street photography is your inner voice. I go for an assignment, I have guidelines, I have a story to follow, but when you're doing street photography, it is your voice. It is the way you think. It is the way you want to send this message across to your viewer that, okay, this is what I want to tell you. And there you create street pictures, which is your voice, which is your thought process, which is the way you see things. Street photography is all about stealing moments. When you are out, when you're doing street photography, there are stories floating all over. All over, there are stories flowing. But when you train yourself to do street photography, you just have to steal that millisecond to capture and steal that moment, which becomes a picture like this. Then you move on. This, maybe people have seen these things, but they are not stealing that moment, that expression, that correlation between different elements. That is street photography. Street photography is all about being spontaneous. If you're not spontaneous, if you're not fast with your thinking process and the things which you are seeing and correlating them together, you won't create pictures like these. Like these. And then it is about staying in present. What is gone is gone. What is going to come, you don't know. When you are doing street photography, you are living in that particular moment, a fraction of a second, and you steal that moment and create pictures like these, and you are in present. You are not in past or future. In present. And you create street pictures like these. And then we move on to this one. It's all about anticipation. Street photography, you have to be spontaneous. You have to anticipate things. What is going to happen in the next moment? If you train yourself and get that anticipation thing in you, and you understand that at what time, at what moment you have to click that shutter, you anticipate it and you click that shutter at the right time, and you get that live picture in front of you, which your viewer can see and press that button in his head or her head and move that frame into the next moment and create their own stories. This is street photography. Street photography is all about anticipation. Like this picture, I anticipated that this guy, a silhouette, will move to the left as he enters the frame, and there is a juxtaposition, and that thing in the background will look like a tongue coming out of his head, his lips. So this is, I anticipated and got a picture like this when you're doing street pictures. It is about seeing unusual. There are thousands of pictures. Every day we are scrolling down the Instagram, Facebook, and all social media. Why will somebody come and stop at my picture? What is so great about my picture? I have to find that unusual thing happening around me, which is candid, which is spontaneous, and create a visual where my viewer, when they see it, they think how it is done. How is it possible? How did you do that? That unusual factor, that drama is the core of street photography. Seeing unusual. See, I mean, you find them. You create them. It's just you train your eye and find those unusual things and create street pictures. So what do I get out of street photography? I have told like what is street photography in detail, I think so. But what do I get out of street photography? What do I learn as a photographer? How do I grow? Can I use it? Will it make me a better photographer? Will it be a child's play or what? Let's see that also. I have a slideshow. Wow. It teaches us to observe. As a photographer, no matter what sort of photography you are doing, if you can't observe things, you can't capture them. Street photography, you learn to observe things around you. And the moment you learn to observe things, you get pictures like these. It teaches you patience. When you're doing street photography, maybe, I mean, you walk for 2 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, and you don't get a picture. You don't have to be like frustrated, oh, I didn't get a picture. You have to have that patience. And if you learn patience, any sort of photography, it's not 100% foolproof that you'll get the best results or the results you are expecting. So if you learn patience, it's good for you as a photographer. It's good for me as a photographer. So we learn patience and get visuals where we capture those moments which we want. And that only comes if we have patience. If we don't have patience, we lose them. It teaches us to weave stories with whatever is available to us, because in street photography, we just try to weave stories with whatever elements are around us. So it teaches us to weave stories. It teaches us to weave stories in a strong way where I can connect my viewers to my pictures. They get trapped in that puzzle, the puzzle which I am giving them to solve it. I give them the story, but I don't give them titles. I leave it to them that, okay, you go ahead and create your stories. So I'm creating story. You see this picture, you think, what is happening here? You try your eye move from left to right, up and bottom, and weave that story. I weave my story, I give it to you, and you weave your own story. It helps us to understand our tool. Street photography, most of these pictures which you are seeing is shot with a small camera with a fixed lens. That's it. But the core is, in street photography, you are concentrating on that moment, on that unusual thing which your eye is finding. But if I get struggling with my camera, I won't be able to get pictures like these. I'll be lost with my camera settings. I'll be lost with what aperture should I keep, what shutter speed should I do, or what lens should I use, or which camera should I use. So the day I start bringing that one factor out of my vision, that I understand my tool and I am in control of my tool, so that I can concentrate on my visuals and the stories which are floating in front of me, I create pictures. Most of these pictures, normally I shoot on program mode, auto ISO, and I leave it at that. Modern cameras are very advanced. They give you almost right exposure so that I can concentrate on my story. I can concentrate on my visuals. Street photography teaches me to understand my tool and make me strong in producing stories, which is the core of photography. It, it teaches us to see the light. The core of photography is light. No light, no photography. If I'm doing street photography, I'm trying to understand light, how it can impact my visuals, how it can make my visuals come strong. So the moment you are into street photography, you see light, you start observing things, and you develop that eye to see the light. We all see light, but we see it unconsciously. The moment you start seeing things consciously, it becomes your reflex. It becomes your second nature. And then you just keep driving the camera and everything happens. Everything flows. So it teaches us to see the light. It teaches us to be spontaneous. Be spontaneous like this. And it teaches us to master the principles of photography. Though these pictures are very candid pictures, but they do have all the principles. They have leading lines, they have layers, they have rule of thirds, and whatever rules you follow, they are there. So when you're doing street photography, you are mastering all the principles of photography. Leading line, it leads you to that picture, that person behind you. It makes you understand human behavior. Most of the time, when you're doing street photography, you are seeing people move around. You focus on their gestures, you focus on their movements, you focus on their body language. You are understanding people, their behavior, what's going to happen next. Street photography will teach you that. Definitely, it's going to teach you that. Move on, it will teach you. This guy is going to jump. I know this guy is going to jump. He's going to bend his leg because when he's in air, he'll do that. I am understanding human behavior. It helps us to understand and anticipate things. This was shot at Dubai Air Show. This guy was standing watching the air show. I anticipated that when this plane is going to pass from there, it's going to leave that smoke, and this thing is going to happen. So I anticipate. You learn to anticipate. You learn to anticipate what's the scene, I mean, what's happening, what's next thing's going to happen. It's to stay focused. It helps you to stay focused. You are concentrating on your subject. You're not concentrating on left, on right, what's going behind. Your main focus is on your subject. You stay focused on that. So it teaches you about being focused. And it helps you to understand your tool, and it helps you to work with minimum tool, very minimalistic tools. It teaches you to work with least tool and create strong visuals. Deal with failures. Yes, you deal with failures. Sometimes you get pictures, sometimes you don't get pictures. So psychologically, mentally, you are becoming strong because you are able to deal with your failures. And street photography is like meditation. When you are doing street photography, you are in a different world. You are living a different life. You are in a different zone. It's like meditation. It's like a concentration. It's like you are creating that story in your head and producing pictures like these. Like these. So where do we go wrong? There is so much we've learned. There is so much street photography teaches you. But still I say, street photography is child's play. What's going wrong? Why do I believe that street photography is not helping me? Street photography can't make me grow as a photographer, and it's just total waste of time, and anybody and everybody can do street photography. Where are we going wrong? We are going wrong because we have killed that child within us. We are running around with the race for the tools, the best of the best cameras, best of the best software to do the post-processing. The child which is within all of us is buried below all these things. And then there is this race to get followers, to become popular, to become photographers overnight because you have the best of the best camera. That's killing the child within us, and that's where we are going wrong, and that's why we think that street photography is total waste of time, and it teaches you nothing. But trust me, if you can do street photography and, oh, we forgot about this. We have killed the child in us. Yes, we have killed in the child in us, and that's what I talked about. So if you can do street photography, you can do anything. Trust me, you can do anything, any sort of photography. And I am a photojournalist. My background is advertising and fashion. I do street photography. I have learned so much from street photography. With all those things which I have told you, it has helped me polish my skill, be it photography rules, be it photography techniques, be it inner thing, or be it an outward thing. So if you can do street photography with minimal tool, and if you're doing, suppose, fashion photography, where things are in your control, while you are doing street photography and nothing is in your control. If nothing is in your control, and then also you can produce pictures like this, what will happen if you get all the luxury of the best equipment with you, best of the best controls in your hand? You will do magic. You will do magic. So according to me, the child within you is there. Don't kill it. Street photography definitely is child's play if that child within me is still alive. And if I have killed that child, I know it's not killed, it's still there, but we have to remove all the burden on him, which is of these tools and of these softwares and to become popular overnight. If we remove that and make that child live and breathe again, that child will come alive, and you will definitely grow as a photographer, no matter what sort of photography you do, but you will definitely gain something from street photography, and you can definitely create pictures in street photography which are shown to you. And there is this video I want to share in the end, which is my thought process and my thinking, and the crazy child within me which is still living, which is still breathing, and which is not burdened by all those things around us, superficial things, artificial things, and the child is still living. Let's watch this video, and I end this talk
My
here.
dreams, I wanted to always capture them. I see them everywhere. They're dark, they are faded, they are distorted. They are scratchy, they are very blurred, they are faded. I see them. I try to capture them. I find these memories everywhere I go. I shoot. I try and find perfection in imperfection. I accept what my camera gives me, and this is what I produce. This is just the beginning of bringing my camera and my images to produce images which I often dream in my dreams. And my dreams is nothing but my past. The life I've lived, I've seen, I've grown, and I've experienced. My dreams, my dreams.
Please join me in thanking Ashok for that great presentation, his images, but also his extraordinary energy and passion. Please join us again in about 20 minutes for our next presentation by Palani Mohan. See you soon. Thank you.